Hi everyone, welcome you to the second episode of Marketing Uncensored. This is a really special episode for me, not just because of the fact that we have CEO and founder of JungleWorks and Jugnu with us, but he is the ultimate serial entrepreneur. He is the ultimate brandsmith. He is the ultimate, technocrat I have known so far. And most importantly, he has played such an important role in my life. In my 2 years of just knowing him, I have learned so much from him, and still there is so much to learn from his Samar. Thank you so much for coming. It really means a lot for us.
No, Kriti, thanks for inviting me, and I love to, talk to everybody who wants to learn, and especially you, because I've always loved working with you. So it's been an honor. Yeah. So totally happy and excited to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, Samar. And since the name of the series is Marketing Uncensored, I already know that I can expect nothing but a raw and honest conversation with you. And I've learned so much. And one of the biggest things I've always inspired about you is that you're so good at anticipating trends. Like, even before the whole COVID thing, you knew that on demand industry is going to be so huge. And after COVID, it became a really big thing. But even way before that, you knew all about on demand industry and you were so focused on it. So how exactly, what is your trick for anticipating trends? Like, if you could share that with us.
To be honest, I mean, there's no trick as such, but I think you have to be one inquisitive and be okay with failing. So if you think about it, I mean, I think I'm more wrong than right, and I think my success rate is probably around 10%. But the good thing is that it's actually fine. You can have a very low success rate in predicting trends or in being right, and still be fine because you only have to be right a very few number of times, and you can be wrong much more number of times. So I think you have to force yourself a little bit to be a little bit inquisitive and be a little optimist, right? Because
Right.
I see like I talk to a lot of people sometimes, frequently, and a lot of times, what I see is entrepreneurs are very in optimistic and inquisitive,
Right.
and few people, in fact, let's say big company executives, they're very sort of dismissive of new ideas and things. And most of the times, these guys are right because 90% of the times, new disruptions don't pan off as they want, as they should. The thing is, in the 10% or maybe 5% of the times that they do, they actually make a big impact. So
Right.
you have to understand that if you are looking for a big impact, you'll have to be okay with failing a lot of times and being inquisitive. But that's it. I think there's no other secret to it, to be honest.
Probably this is exactly why you move really fast and evolve really fast, like, from business to business, brand to brand, product to product, and always creating new hero products, which actually have a, great potential in the market.
Yeah, so see, if you look at it, I think the good and the bad thing in tech is that, experimentation is cheap. You can do it fast.
Right.
The bad thing is you can really like spend a lot of time on, bad experiments.
Right.
So, and I think the reason for that is we tend to get in love with our babies, right? I mean that's kind of natural, but in business you have to be very objective. So what I've learned is, and it's not easy for me. It's not easy for anybody. In the beginning, also done those mistakes where I was just trying to linger on to things for long, right? So I think there is a thin line between persistence and not being data driven, and that's really the where the skill comes in, right?
Right.
If you are just like you start something and things don't go well, you just shut it down.
True.
That's just like being foolish. But then if the fundamental economics or the fundamental business model is just not there and we just keep persisting, that's also foolish. How do you know
How do you
when
find
to
the
pivot,
balance?
when to
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the real reason why AI cannot create businesses as of now, because
Right.
that's all like a very computer model driven. So I think that's the thing, that's where human intuition, gut feeling, and kind of efforts also, sometimes you don't get the truth, you just have to make it happen. I mean, for example, if you look at, let's say, Jugnu, when we started, I mean, to be honest, like first we were ridiculed. Why would anybody auto rickshaws, how would auto rickshaws who are illiterate be able to use an app? And then everybody thought, how could Ola not do it, or how could Uber not do it? It's so stupid, so obvious, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of opposite. First people are thinking, no, autos will never use app, and then people are right away thinking from there to the other flip. Why would Ola Uber not be used by autos? It's kind
Right.
of the reality is in between.
Right.
So, do auto drivers hate taxis? Yes, right? So they would not want to be on an app which is like, primarily taxi driven. So all those, like, there's so many nuances that come into picture. So what I'm saying is, like, we tend to generalize and kind of dismiss ideas on the face value. Sometimes you just have to dig deeper, go in and see that, okay, if the fundamental logic makes sense, persist. Why not? But if the
Right.
logic is not making sense, either pivot or do something else.
So basically, it's about finding the right balance between technology and the whole market. And sometimes you have to take hard calls to push when no one is pushing, and sometimes you take a step back, even when, for example, I know for a fact that Jugnu was doing so well. Jugnu is still doing so well, right? But at some point of time, you decided that not to burn cash. And I mean, for a fact that Jugnu is probably one of the only ride sharing applications in India which is doing so well and is actually cash flow positive. On the contrary, Ola and Uber are still burning cash. So, I mean, for a fact that I've seen you taking very unconventional decisions in both B2B and B2C segment. So, how exactly, like, you kind of make a call that where do you want to take a different direction from what the other competitors are doing in the market?
To be honest, I think the differentiation is very important. So, like, and I don't know the reason, but I've never, like, I just don't believe in VC industry, right? In that sense, like, and it might
Right,
come out as very counterintuitive coming from me, but the reality is, if you look at it, like, let's look at, let's say, how do VCs work, right?
right,
And think about the best case scenario, right? I mean, yesterday only there was a newspaper, like some news article I was reading, that Ola has raised about $5 billion in total, and their valuation right now is about 3 billion, right? So
right,
they've raised like more than what they have total valuation in company right now, which means founder is almost like completely washed out in terms of
right,
equity and what, right? And that's like poster child of Indian startup ecosystem. So what does the founder come up with? But a lot of VCs have made a lot of money on Ola.
right,
I'm sure Sequoia has made a ton of money on Ola because they came in early. They ran the pump and dump, and they exited at the right time. So I think VCs make a lot of money on founders, cost, so to speak, and it's not wrong. It's their industry. That's how it is. But
yeah,
I understand why VCs are called capitalists now. Nothing against it. There are very good VCs. There is very, but their industry is ruthless and they are built on a premise. Like, so for example, I know very few VCs who would say, given a choice, let's say, give a choice to a VC between two things. This is a complete Ponzi scheme company, but there is like 80% chance you will be able to flip it to SoftBank or Tiger in 4 years and 10x your money because of the story. And then this is like a real genuine business. It will definitely give you 5x of returns in 10 years time, because the founder is good, the business makes sense, etc., etc., etc. I think almost every VC will choose the first one because
right,
their business model is about flipping, taking a piece of equity and flipping it to the bigger guy, not turning it into a profitable company, which, let's say, PEs and other guys do. So I
right,
think from that perspective, the tech industry has been kind of, dominated by or influenced by this wrong kind of thinking. And obviously, the money supply really exacerbated, or let's say, just increased this phenomena quite a bit, right?
right.
And I think that has to change, and that is changing because now this business cycle is there where people are having tough time raising money. I think the good fundamental founders will actually have a good time in terms of building right businesses. But that's it. I mean, it's nothing wrong if it makes sense. Like, I know, like, without naming any person in specific, I mean, think about companies like Zilingo, right? And,
Right.
few other companies, Bharat Pay. I know from internal sources that every VC on their board knew what was going on from day one,
Right.
right? At some point, it just made sense for VCs not to be aligned with the founder, and all those skeletons, in the closets came out,
Yeah.
and they were just fired, essentially, right? Doesn't mean that they didn't know what was going on. It doesn't make it right, but they were a complete party to it. So I think it's a sad reality, but that's what the world is. That's what capitalism is, and you choose your side. I believe that I'm more of a marathoner, right? I do things, and I think that if you keep building, and and if you are building real companies, real problems, or solving real problems, eventually the market rewards you. That's what I'm doing. And to be honest, I have no interest in flipping companies, right? There are a lot of people who like to flip, like, let me build it, let me exit, let me do something new, something new. I'm more of a builder. I keep building, keep adding into the ecosystem. And yes, we make some mistakes, we do some things right, but I see it as a lifestyle thing. My lifestyle is my life is building products and companies. I'm not building them to sell them. So I think that's a fundamentally different way. Like, so for example, my role models will be Tatas, or
Right.
Sanjeev Bikhchandani's, or these guys who just keep building. They build for building's sake. They're not building for an exit at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And I think that's a fundamentally different approach than, let's say, building it out, getting that big exit and moving on and building something next for that big exit once
Absolutely.
more. I just don't get motivated by those. So
Makes
yeah,
sense.
nothing wrong with either of those. One is a 0-1 game, the other one is a marathon. You just keep doing it. So yeah.
True. So it's more about a long-term and short-term strategy where you see yourself in, say, next 5 years. So Samar, basically in like, a
Yeah.
short, yeah, in your short tenure of like for 2 years, I've worked with many startups, and when they start with a new product or mostly, with a greenfield concept, so either they get too much obsessed with technology or they get too much obsessed with
Hmm.
spending marketing. And they
Hmm.
exactly do not do really a lot of groundwork, or they don't really listen to the market, and they just want to move in a solo direction, which is either focused on spending too much in marketing, or it is focused on just the tech and the product is very good, but there is a lot of not much product market fit, if I may say. So
Hmm.
how would you say
Hmm.
that if a person is just starting his journey, as an entrepreneur, and either it is a tech product, service, or whatever it is, right? So when how they should exactly structure the whole sales, marketing, and tech aspect of the business, and how do you think that they should balance it out, or even sometimes takes hard calls when they want to take a step back? Summer, it is a balance between long term and short term strategy. And in our very short experience of 2 years of working with startups, what we have found is that either the founders get too much obsessed with technology, and they're all about building a very tech savvy product which can solve some like very crazy problem, or they get very obsessed with spending crazy amount in marketing, especially the funded startups. At some point of time they don't realize that when they have to cut the losses, or how they have to prioritize marketing and product building, and kind of finding a good fit with the market. So how would you say that, for
Hmm.
example, if an entrepreneur is starting his journey, how they should structure all the components, right from technology to marketing to the sales part of it, and when they should kind of take a call that this is working out, this is not working out, should I withdraw from the market or should I relaunch in the market?
Uh, so it's a good question, but I'll again obviously be able to give you my perspective. I think for us, for everybody, it's very difficult to accept that we were wrong, right? It's a little bit like that. I buy a car or a house or a watch,
Yeah.
and I keep saying that it's great, while from deep down I don't even like it. I mean, there are people like that, right?
Yeah.
And because the answer is they have this feeling that because I did it, I have to kind of keep justifying it,
Right.
right? And I feel that's a little bit of what causes this, right? You say that, okay, was my thesis. They don't want to accept it was wrong. I think they deep down, they either know or they are not questioning themselves. What I feel
Right.
is, if you're a founder, you have to understand that you are going to be more wrong than right. And the faster you accept it, the faster you understand, that, okay, you were wrong. How do I correct it? Accept
Right.
that you were wrong and correct it slowly. And I think just keep moving on and rinsing and repeating. And that's the right approach. It takes a lot of courage. I mean, I've done it a few times in my life that I came in front of, let's say, 100 odd people in a town hall or something, said, guys, we did this, we were wrong, I'm sorry, we need to now take a step back, cut our losses, do this, change our direction. Do people like it? No.
No.
Am I going to like it? No, but that's my job. The reality is, I think that's the real point where your character is tested. How well you manage it, how well you take the blame. Finger pointing is another aspect. I was right, but because this person did not do that, I did not succeed or something like that. The reality is, everybody behaves in their own selfish way. That's how it should be. That's how humans are built. If you are able to accept it and design your processes or design your journey in the way that helps you, I think you'll be fine. Otherwise, you are in for a lot of grief. And you learn it the hard way. And I also have had fair bit of my, I would say, disappointments in life where I expected people to behave in a certain way, and I was finger pointed in some sense. But then you realize, it's you are going to be more wrong than right. And good leader or a good entrepreneur always is questioning themselves, understanding, okay, am I genuinely right? It's just taking time, or am I wrong and I need to change? This fundamental question, the right or the honesty with which you answer this question to yourself every weekend, I would say, is really what makes you,
Right.
the right entrepreneur or not. That's honestly, I think, I mean, a lot of times I've done it to myself. I've been lying to myself for quite some time, either not shutting things down when they were not making sense, or just not taking ownership. We all do that. We all know that it's being done, but it just takes a lot of courage to do it. But once you do it, I think most of the time it just takes a lot of load off your head. So there
Right.
is light at the end of this tunnel. But I would say, you definitely want to keep that one in mind. Yeah.
Right. So, Samar, for a fact, I know that JungleWorks is the go-to technology partner for so many startups and SMEs because it has the perfect product fit whether when it comes to your yellow and token and everything that comes along with it, because it is like a one
Hmm.
company that offers the whole end-to-end solutioning. And I know for a fact that the brand recall value of especially token is extremely high and is very well received, despite the fact there are many other products in the market, but still it is a favorite for the customers. So how exactly, like,
Mhm.
over time, I know token is your oldest product, you have established that brand recall value and that, sense of, commitment in customers towards this particular product.
So see, I think, to be honest, Preeti, there is no rocket science in that. It's about giving value first and taking a percentage of that value. Far too many people, or far too many times, we get greedy and we say, okay, this is what I want. We're not looking about our customers' needs. We're not looking, okay, how do I give the person value first and then take a portion of that? Because I've seen, like, most people are very reasonable. They actually are very happy to share the value you have created for them. But sometimes you're just trying to take too much before giving them something. My approach in life is, create value first and then expect a portion in return. And that works very well. And that's why I think, we have good, happy customers, and customers who are growing. I mean, if you see, like, probably already, we are a primarily inbound driven company.
Right.
How do we have customers in 200 countries? Because we never went outbound. Let's say if I was doing outbound, would I ever go and do outbound in Fiji? Not really. But
True.
because I was always only focused on, okay, let's build the product, let's give value, and once people see that value, they'll either tell others, or just grow themselves, etc., etc. And that's how we have grown. And to be honest, there's a lot to be done. If I see, we are at probably less than 1% of our total potential. If you see Shopify, right, 10 years ago, everybody thought, Amazon is there, why would anybody build a Shopify store? I think today it's the same thing. Everybody asks me, like, Zomato is there, why would a restaurant have their own store? Right? I think
Right.
that is the perception that will change in the next 5 to 10 years. And you will see, like, a sea change in terms of, adoption of hyper local commerce platforms or stack, which is what we are. And how do you crack it? Be the best player in the market, be the player that gives people the maximum value. Just wait for people to learn about it. I
Right.
mean, when people come and tell me that, why are you guys not marketing enough? I generally think to myself, yeah, I can market more. But secondly, well, you did find us, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want. You know, you heard about us from somebody, and now you are going to tell five more people. And if that keeps on happening, I'm in no rush. I'm sitting here for next 10 years. I'm doing I'm not waiting for something to happen or the company to be sold off to do the things in life that I want to do.
Right.
I mean, day before yesterday, I think I had like probably the best time in my life in a lot of time. Like, I mean, I had like me time. And my idea for me time was I was looking at a YouTube video and solving a computer science problem. I mean, that might sound like a work to some people, but that's entertainment for me, right?
Right.
And most of the things that I do for entertainment are all free. Like I'd go on a trek, I play with my dogs, you know, so I'm not really waiting for a big event to happen to create that value, or to capture that value that I've created. So what that means is that I'm in no rush for people to find out about us, for people to understand that hyperlocal is going to be big. We believe hyperlocal is going to be big for like last 10 years, and
Yeah.
it's giving us good results. And
Yeah.
it's like, I know I have been talking about on demand and hyperlocal when they were not words, when they
Yeah.
were
They
not standard
works.
terms. I think on demand industry was pretty much like probably we were one of the.
Invented by you, Samar, I think. I never, yeah, I
Yeah,
never.
I mean, I would not say we defined that. Maybe, Uber did, or maybe, I guess Uber would be the company that did that. But what happened was there was a time when on demand and hyperlocal were keywords which were not having enough search volumes.
Right.
Now they have so much traffic. So I think from not enough search volume to too high
This,
bids, it
yeah.
shows the mindset change of people. And as an entrepreneur, you have that thesis. When you know your thesis is right, you only focus on product. You say, okay, let me first build a thesis. Then you test that thesis. When your thesis is right and you have tested it and you know you have that gut feeling that your thesis is right, the next step then is forget about everything else in the life. Just make sure your product is the best. I mean, for example, in Jugnu, right? So many times I've come to a point, or investors, partners, friends, family have suggested I shut it down. And I say, is the thesis right? Yes, people are going to need an app for ride hailing. What is my differentiator? My differentiator is, Ola and Uber are charging 20%. They can't charge low because they have spent $5 billion, but I can charge 4%, 5%, 2%, right?
Right.
And yeah, so the answer is right. So what I need to do now is keep improving the product and wait for people to switch. It will
Right.
happen, right? So if your fundamental thesis, and that's how I think, I'm not a detail oriented guy. I look at like macro picture. Okay, macro makes sense. I'll forget about the world and just keep building, right? Build for 10 years, 10 hours a day, go play with your dogs, spend time in a let's say jungle or whatever, or a nice walk. I think forget about the results, and results come. That's I think the honest, I would say, surprise I've gotten, that results actually come. So I was talking to a customer just before this call, and I told them, guys, don't spend money on the technology platform. To your point, people get obsessed with technology. That is exactly what I was telling them. And I told
Right.
them that, guys, I'm not interested in making money off you. If I make you successful, I'll definitely make money off you, right? But
Right.
if you're not successful, then how am I going to make money? So my point is, make your customer successful, you'll automatically make money, and that is working well. But a lot of companies are too impatient, and that I think maybe comes from because I'm a physicist by education. I never thought of building a company, to be honest. I never thought of like
Yeah.
starting entrepreneurship because that was like how I would make a lot of money. I started because I loved solving problems, and these seemed like important, interesting problems to solve. I was solving the problems, they became valuable, people came to us and became a company. So I think if you keep following that same approach, I mean, you look at Twitter, you look at Facebook. I think all these companies are really like, they were all solving problems, right? Which became valuable for more people. But nobody was too obsessed with building a company first. The companies were always a byproduct.
Right.
Problem solving by the founder was always the motivation factor for these companies. I don't know if we are going to be that great a company or not, but to be honest, for me, I'm solving a problem, and problem is simple. I mean, you look at Amazon or somebody, I order something, I get shipped from, let's say, one packet, like let's say a small bottle of shampoo is put in a huge cardboard box and shipped from at least, 200 miles away or 300 miles away, when that same thing is sitting probably in like, 2 mile radius of me, right? I'm saying, like, why is that not happening? It's just so mind boggling to me,
Right.
right? I'm solving that problem, and my thesis is, okay, I'll keep solving it for 10 years,
Right.
right? 20 years, whatever, right? Whatever time it takes, I'll keep solving that problem. One day people will realize that it's much better to order hyper locally, where it is already sitting, it is cheaper, it is faster than, you know wasting a bunch of cardboard for every shampoo bottle
True.
shipped, and wasting a lot of gas in the process. I mean, how do we do it? By just keep building, solving the problems, every micro problem, keep removing the friction, keep teaching people on, how to become successful. And yes, I mean, that's a simple problem statement, right? And simple goal. So so keep it simple and keep at it. I think that's the, but a lot of people keep it simple but don't keep at it.
Keep
So
at
I
it.
think that's really,
Right.
yeah.
So I've also seen this that like you have very beautifully, you kind of, take care of the whole product team, the marketing team, the sales team. You find the perfect balance. How do you do that? I mean, you just know exactly when to give the push, when to take a pull, take a step back. And I think a lot of startups, they're always confused with establishing structures within structures. And there's a lot of overlapping, a lot of wrong expectation setting.
I think,
But somehow with jungle works, I think you always find a fit between the different departments.
no, see, I'll say, there are things where not doing something is the right thing to do. And
Right.
I would say that is where I got lucky. I mean, it's just my personal nature. I don't micromanage people, and I trust people, right? And it really costs us a lot as a company sometimes, because, when you trust people, a lot of people are going to take advantage of it. And
Right.
it happens to everybody. But what happens is the people who actually, thrive in that environment,
Right.
are the right kind of people. Like, for example, like some of my most senior people, I don't talk to them for weeks.
Right.
And, to some people, that's very odd that, dude, like, what are you doing? You need to be like more understanding what's going on. And I think that if I need to do that, then what's the point of trusting them,
Right.
right? For some people, it's a negative. For some people, it's a positive. But for me, I think the fact that you're making, the point that you're making, like, how do we get that balance, is by trusting people. And then understanding that when you trust people, the kind of people who stay on with you are the people who are the right kind of people. So let's say, we build a business system which has a lot of checks and balances. A lot of people who are not, let's say, trustworthy will do okay in that system, right? But eventually they will not do the things that are needed to build a trustworthy system. They'll always keep building more checks and balances, right? So the answer is very simple. You have a family to build. Do you say, okay, I'll trust these people, and then if they do something wrong, I will build those checks and balances, or take a call, or kind of, move on? Or I trust no one and keep building those checks and balances? And that's where I think a lot of founders go wrong. They don't
Right.
trust people enough, and they keep putting so much effort in building those checks and balances, so that, they cannot be cheated or they cannot be betrayed and stuff.
Yeah.
And reality is that takes most of their time. In
Yeah.
my case, yes, a lot of times things happen which should not have happened because we trust it. Like, like we trust people with some financial stuff, and, people run away with money. has happened. But,
Right.
you know, was it logical for us to really anticipate every problem and, build those checks and balances in the beginning? No, we could not have reached here. We could not have become a company that we have become today if we were completely like paranoid about, okay, who is going to cheat us how, right? Because,
Right.
think about it, on our platform,
Yeah.
like on a typical day, like 100,000 people do transactions, maybe more. I'm guessing like maybe 200,000 people, right?
Right.
And these are like over a million transactions happening, over 10,000, or sorry, over 100, maybe 200,000 people interacting with each other. If I keep focusing on how to build those checks and balances, it's almost an impossible task. But if I focus on, okay, my strategy is simple: trust everybody, blind trust, no second chances, right? You
Right.
trust people, you assume they're going to do the right thing, but if they don't, and if you see that there is a misintention or malintention there, you
Right.
cut your losses, you cut the cord, move on. If you keep doing that, I think the system you build is much more resilient. It might, feel bad emotionally when you trust somebody and things don't go as they should have. But I think in the long run, and I've seen so many examples there were people, who, let's say, we did not get along at some point and stuff, but they came back 3 years, 4 years, 5 years later, and they told me things that, yeah, they realize it now, that they should have done this thing differently and stuff. And for me, I said, okay, I have nothing against you, no grudges. I won't do business with you. I won't work with you again, because that's my thing. I can't trust people again.
Right.
But that really helped us build a resilient company. People who are here, they just know that everybody else is trusted and they can trust each other. I think
Right.
that's really helpful for everybody. When you know that you can trust, like, so when you're in family, why are you feeling so safe and nice? Because you can trust your mother, you can trust your father, you can trust your sister. I
Right.
think that's the thing, right? If you build your company like a family and say that, okay, I want to be able to trust everybody, and you know, that's a great thing. There'll be some disappointments in the beginning.
Right. Battles. You don't want to waste too much energy into checking everyone every day. It's just a lot of
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. Just imagine, if you had to, like, every time your mother cooked the food, you had to give it to a dog to see if the dog is dying or not. I mean, it'll be very, very tough life.
Yeah.
So I've heard, like, Putin, these guys, like all the presidents and prime ministers, they check their food, like, they can't trust people, right? I mean, they have that problem. Just think about it, how much complication it adds to your life.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, if your company is like a family and you can trust people, okay, this person is in my company and all the people by and large are trustworthy in my company. Okay, let me trust them. You don't
Right.
have to all the time keep thinking about, okay, how do I check and balance and how do I make sure that people are not cheating me?
True.
So I hope that answers your question.
A lot of questions, Samar. Samar, also, like, as a founder, you have done so well across a decade, and I have seen that you always have a very interesting body language. You're very calm, you're very composed. Even in the eye of storm, I've seen, like, uh, you kind of take decisions in the very right set of mind. So I just want to understand, like, because it's a very as a founder, it's like a firefighting kind of job. Do firefighting every day, every day, every day, every day. You take some punches, you hit back some. How do you kind of maintain this very, dignified, calm, I would say body language, health? How would you say that? Like, what is the secret for that?
Well, first of all, it's practice. After some time, the punches stop feeling as hard as they should have, right? So I think it's a lot of time, and you'll get there also for sure. So just wait and watch, and you'll get calm. And I think it's a little bit of like that. When you see your first storm, you don't know if there is an end. But when you are in your like fifth, sixth storm, you know that, okay, tomorrow morning it's going to be a new sunrise and everything is going to be nice. So I think that's a little bit of experience and a lot of time. But secondly, it's also a lot of low expectation, right? I've always considered one of my superpowers to be having like a very low expectation lifestyle, right? I don't know if there's like a one famous Silicon Valley guy who says that, he's like a big proponent of minimalism, right? I mean, I won't call myself like a minimalistic guy, but my expectations from life are very low, right? I don't like fancy things. I don't want like, supercars. I don't necessarily want to fly first class, etc., etc. I want a comfortable life. That's pretty much it, right? Once you
Right.
have that, you know, and you realize that it just takes or makes life so much easier. Like, there are all these people who are waiting for like a new Apple Watch, or not only Apple Watch, like a new fancy watch or whatever, like luxury brand it is, new wallet coming, new purse coming, new clothing line coming. There is so much going on in their life that I think it gives them a lot of anxiety, I believe, right? And it's just every new thing that I want, every new thing that I need, it's just so much of mental bandwidth going there. What
Right.
if I don't need anything? And what if I just need, things which are very, very simple? And that just, makes it so easy to live life. I'm not saying, I might sound a little preachy right now, and I'm also, obviously I have things that I want, I also want things sometimes badly. We are all human, we'll all make mistakes. But the reality is, if you can think, or let's say, or let's put it that way, right? Think of a saint, right? We cannot be saints, but can you keep moving towards that lifestyle? If you
Right.
can keep moving towards the lifestyle of a saint, and then think about it, you know then your job becomes so much easier, because your expectations of from life are so little that the chances of you achieving something big are, I think, much more. Because I'm not thinking about what new clothing line is coming out, what new shoes are being dropped by Nike or something, or some Jay-Z or whatever it is, right? And
Right.
when I'm not thinking about that, you know I think that just takes like 90% stress away from life, and just make things like very, very easy. Like, if you ask me like what is the if I had like all the money in the world, all the time in the world, what would I want to eat? I'd probably eat a Subway, right? And
Right.
just makes it so easy, right? So I think that's my, I would say, approach. More you keep going towards that state where you don't really want a lot of things from life, I think life gives you much more
True.
without even asking.
True. Very true. Somewhere, just like looking back into the time, like, very unconventional decisions right from the start, like, when people were all about moving to Bangalore, you established such an amazing company, not one, but two in Chandigarh. So, like, what was your, framework when you decided that you want to start your company in Chandigarh and expand from there in US and other countries? More to that, like, I know that you've just shared that why and how you kind of started your journey as an entrepreneur with the whole problem solving approach. But then how you decided like which business you want to be in? Like, it must have been a way tougher call, like say 10 years back.
So there are two parts to this question, right? I mean, one is that I'm not a strategist. I'm not a planner. In
Right.
general, in my life, I'm just not a planner, right? I mean, I am more of a doer. Like, okay, this makes sense to do. Let's do it and think about it later, right? And it helps sometimes, but it's important to find complementary people. So if you think about it, like, I really respect planners. Like, if you think in the company, like Jaspal, who's a senior person, he's a planner. He's a meticulous thinker, like Rubal, Shireen. These are all people who really like to think through their decisions,
Right.
right? I'm more of a tactician. I tend to think I'm good at it, but then I have to find people who are complementary to me, and then trust them with those kind of things, right? So I think that's one, to do what you are naturally good at, and find complementary people who are good at other things.
Right.
And second piece is, so let's say, why not move to a large city, right? I think, my motivation has always been, okay, I'll build a company. Why do you want to build a company? You want to make money, financial independence. Okay, once you get that financial independence, what do I want to build, or what do I want to do? I want to bring social change for better. So what is that social change I would want to bring? That would be, trying to create as many jobs as possible in India. That could be people working on our platform, which is, let's say, a few 100,000. That could be people, working for us directly. That would be, let's say, maybe 1,000 or something. Right. So my point is, where would I have maximum impact? Would it be sitting in Bangalore? Not really. Would it
True.
be in a new place where we can actually hopefully be a nucleus of entrepreneurship in 10 years, 20 years time? I mean, my guess is that if you look back at Chandigarh 10 years later, or 20 years later, people would say that, that these guys really like built a big entrepreneurial ecosystem here,
Right.
right? And that to me is just more, more kind of enticing than saying, it's the easiest to do in Bangalore, it's the easiest to do in Gurgaon or something like that. So yeah, I mean, so my approach is like that. I first think from first principles. This is what I want to achieve. Does it make more sense to be in Chandigarh for that, or let's say, for that matter, small places, whatever it is? So I think when you start thinking from first principles and you have your motivations very clear,
Right.
it will get you to a few thinkings. See, why do people take popular decisions? Because somebody is imitating somebody. Popular by definition means, you're doing something that a lot of other people are doing.
Yeah.
That sometimes means that you are not thinking from first principles, or you don't have your priorities clear, because
Right.
humans are very unique people, right? If
Right.
you were thinking, okay, this is my priority, what do I do for that? You will probably come to very unique decisions, right?
Right.
That's what I do. I mean, I say, okay, this is my priority. I don't know what their priority is. I don't wear the same clothes as everybody else.
Yeah.
So we are unique, right, as humans. So my priorities are my own, and I think from first principle, that's probably, I get the decisions that I do get.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if they're right or not, but they're just right for me. So
True. True. Summer, like, just one last question for you. Thank you so much for all your time all along. How would you, like, what would be your recommendations for all the startup entrepreneurs who are trying to make it big, who are trying to make an impact like you? Just your learnings, something what you would want to do differently if it, if you have to look back at time and, something, you want to change or probably repeat. So what would that be?
uh, to be honest, I mean, I would say first, don't try to make it big. You know, try to do what makes you really happy, and you
Right.
can do it without money for all of your life. I mean,
Right.
I think if you can do that, eventually you will make it big.
Right.
I think a lot of people start with a premise that I want
Right.
to make it big. How do I
Yeah.
calculate back from there? It's very, very difficult to do, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but if you say, I want to play flute, want to be the best at it, and
Right.
if some people want to listen to it, great. I
Right.
think you'll become much better flute player, than saying, okay, it seems like flute players are very famous. How do I become a famous flute player? Are you going to be good at it? Are you
Yeah.
going to enjoy playing it for,
Yeah.
12 hours a day? Maybe not. So I think
Yeah.
that's how, I see life.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I enjoy, right?
Right.
Let me just keep going and see if there is any value to the world from it. You know,
Right.
I can tweak my decisions a little bit based upon the value I'm providing to people, to the world, to the society. But if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not
It's
going to do it, right?
yeah.
So I start with a very selfish construct of enjoying things,
Yeah.
right? In the very moment, like I'm doing this interview not because I have a favor for you, no, because I'm enjoying it, right? And if, let's say, I did not enjoy something, I would just not do it, right? so
Right.
so I think it's that self awareness that you need to have as an entrepreneur, especially. you know
Right.
are you able to take those calls where hard work does not seem like hard work, right? Like, I mean, I can be sitting sitting in my office for next 15 hours straight, talking to customers, employees, partners, whoever, and not feel, wow, man, when am I going to get to 5 p.m. and go back home or something like that? I'll not think like that. Right? If
Right.
I'm not enjoying someday, for some reason, I'll just take my bag and sleep. Okay, come back tomorrow and let's do something else. So I think that self-awareness will really help. Every entrepreneur needs to first have that self-awareness. What is their passion? Keep following it, they'll become big. Because see, think about it. The world is so big. Every stupid thing in the world is valuable to somebody. You
True.
know, if you're like a rock collector or something, I'm sure you'll become like a famous rock collector, or a person who knows about rocks the most, and people will come finding you.
Right.
People will come looking for you. Do you know the most about rocks? Can you tell me about rocks? I mean, is it useful? To me, no, but to somebody, yes. So, if you just like find that passion in you and be really good at it, I
Right.
think people will come find you. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, that passion is really, I would say, you know, motivating people to do better in some sense, creating a lot more people. I'm so proud of the fact that I've created so many entrepreneurs,
True.
you know, either directly by investing or indirectly by, by grilling people
I
like
mean,
you, and and eventually, they're becoming entrepreneurs. And I just love it when I see a, ex entrepreneur. Sometimes they are like, not trying to like see eye to eye to me, because they might feel like, like they're competing with us in some way or not. But I love it. Even if somebody, let's say, competes with us and was like an ex employee or something. See, my goal was to build Chandigarh into an entrepreneurship thing.
right.
If somebody is competing with me and fulfilling my larger goal, I love it. It's not
Right.
going to be a problem for me. So I think, I don't know if that works for people, but works for me.
Thank you so much, Samar. It was really an amazing session and so good, connecting with you on so many levels after 2 years, I guess. And thank you so much for your time. I know you're really busy. And as you said that you
No,
really did
no,
not,
not at all.
but this was a huge, I would say like a learning session for us. Thank you so much, Samar. Really appreciate it and really thankful for that.
No, thank you very much. I hope somebody learns something from this, and
Also,
I genuinely feel that my thesis is very simple. Just keep doing things that you enjoy, keep doing things and try to align with what the world needs, what the society needs. Eventually you'll get somewhere nice. Maybe we don't build the largest company in the world, but it's okay. There's a very small chance of that anyway. So just keep doing your thing, and eventually people will align with you or not. Both are fine. So thanks a lot, Kriti. Very nice talking to you. And hopefully we see you soon. If you're ever in this part of the world, or if I am ever in Bangalore, I'll definitely hit you up, and we'll meet up soon.
thank you, Samar. Look forward to it. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Marketing Uncensored. Connect with us at ekaksha.co.in. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. See you in the next episode.